What makes us so afraid of getting up close and personal with dead people? Now, in my own case, the first earliest memory that I have was at about the age of 3, and looking into a casket of my great aunt who lived with my family, lived with my father, basically raised him, you know, along, sort of lived with the family then his whole life or whatever, and through the first 6 of my siblings. The only memory I have of this woman was being lifted and just seeing this red lipstick. That's all I can remember right now in my mind. And from that day on, you know, I'd go to any wake, and you know, I'd come into the room and someone would say, "Oh, Kevin, you know, have you seen Dad laying out over there?" So, "Oh yeah, I can see him there. Yeah, that's good. I'll just stay over here if you don't mind, right?" But wakes and funerals, wakes especially, give so much humor when you think of it. And I can only speak of this now, you know, personally, because a couple of people here know my father died back in mid-October, and he had a massive stroke. It was a shock to us, massive stroke, 2nd of September, and you know, we thought he was going to come out of it, whatever, but he sort of progressively got worse and worse and worse. And one day he opened his eyes and he looked at me, and I was like, you know, who are you looking at? Because he was just completely blank. And at that point, I was saying, well, you know, death can't come too soon now. But throughout the whole ordeal, through the 6 weeks, and your family coming home, and you know, your brothers and your sisters and people, you know, trying to be supportive. And I remember one day I was at my mother's house, and yet another turkey dinner showed up. And I remember sitting there, and this is before my father died, and I'm sitting there and I'm eating, and I'm saying, wow. I said, Mom, strokes are great things. You get all this food. Now, if you knew my family, we all kind of share the same strange sense of humor. I don't know if it's just growing up Catholic that you just have this idea about death and whatever, that, well, you know, it's going to happen to all of us, so you may as well, you know, have a laugh out of it or whatever. But my father, I can still remember him, every wake he would go to. He would come home, and I'd say, how was the wake? Oh, he said, the corpses, they does them up lovely these days, right? Because this is what he would hear from the people. Or they would stand over the casket, and the person would say, oh my, he looks just like himself. I certainly hope so. But throughout the whole ordeal and leading up to it and knowing what's going to happen, and you know, the trauma of going through this, because my family were all very close. And you know, I remember my father lying in the hospital bed, and the nurses, you know, multitude of them, be coming in, asking him questions, trying to see where his mental capabilities were. And they'd ask him, you know, do you know where you are? What? Do you know where you are? In a room. You see, his voice was gone. He couldn't speak anymore. That's really how it affected him. He couldn't swallow. And she said, do you know your name? My name? She said, do you know your name? And after he said it 5 times, I couldn't even understand what he was saying. And he was going, like that. And finally I said to him, Randall, what are you saying? What are you saying? And he whispered to me, he was trying to say it. And I started to laugh. And the nurse looked at me, she said, what did he say? He said his name is Mickey Mouse. And she, oh, well, that's not good. And I said, no, that's good. I said, well, what do you mean that's good? I said, well, that means he's pissed off at you. He's just not answering your questions anymore. So this went on for the whole time, and just being able to laugh, knowing what's going to happen. And then when you get to the funeral home, and the people who were coming up to you, and the stories that they're telling, and the stories all about, you know, their relationship with my father. The one thing you'd hear all the time, everyone said how, you know, he was a gentleman and a gentleman, which was true. But at the same time, he kind of had my sense of humor. They really didn't know that part of him. So you'd be telling these other stories, and they'd kind of be shocked at the stuff you'd be saying, but you're laughing as you're telling it because you're remembering all the good memories that you've had, growing up. And the one thing he used to say was, to my mother, because the doctors asked for the health directive, should we take him off life support? What should we do? And she said, well, he always said, if I ever had a stroke, just take me out back and shoot me. And she hated to say that to them, but they kind of laughed because they said, well, it's not a great thing to have as such. But this continued on, and it was really cathartic when you can connect on that level and you can understand that, something, death is a part of life. Actually, Archie Bunker said that. And it's something that we all have to go through, so we may as well face it head on, whether you have faith, whether you don't have faith. I have none. But I'm happy to be able to experience my father and my parents and my family for all these years. But I would say the definitive moment of the whole death experience came at the graveside. And we went up after the funeral, and of course they don't put the casket down into the grave anymore. And my brother, who never made it home in time to see him before he died, as everyone else started to walk away, he said, wait, aren't they putting the casket down? And we said, well, they don't do that anymore. He said, well, I'd really like to see that. I'd really like to see just the casket going down, just so I'll know, well, fine, she's gone, that's it, it's over. I said, okay, well, I said to my brother, run down and get the grave diggers. They're down there, right? They're going to put them down when we all go away. So come on, get them to come up. So they all come up and they trudge up, and they said, well, what do you want us to do? I said, well, just lower them down. Lower them down. And the guy said, really, just like that? I said, oh yeah. And he goes over to push the button, and he goes to push the button, and I said, well, geez, man, you got to say a few words. He whipped around, but I wouldn't know what to say. I said, that's all right, bye. Just let him go. And let him go. We're ready now. Thank you.